We sense within ourselves this infinite longing for God, but we attempt to fill it up with something less than God. Thomas Aquinas named these four classical substitutes as wealth, pleasure, power, and honor. We know that we need God, but we try to fill the void with something less than God, some combination of those four things. In point of fact, it's only the emptying out of the ego in love that paradoxically fills us up. Now, the classical spiritual tradition referred to this errant desire as concupiscence, but I think we could translate the idea very effectively with our more modern term of addiction. And here's why. We're hungry for God, but we try to fill the hunger with something less than God, and so necessarily we are frustrated. In our frustration, we convince ourselves we need more of that finite good. And so we strive and strive and strive, and we get it, and find ourselves necessarily frustrated. At this point, a kind of spiritual panic sets in, and we find ourselves obsessively turning around some finite good that can never, in principle, make us happy. We are very happy to see you. Thank you for those songs. Beautiful. Thank you. The first of the negative formulations is, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." This is neither a romanticizing of economic poverty nor a demonization of wealth, but rather a formula for detachment. Might I suggest a somewhat variant rendition? How blessed are you if you are not attached to material things, if you have not placed the goods that wealth can buy at the center of your concern. When the kingdom of God is your ultimate concern, not only will you not become addicted to material things, you will in fact be able to use them with great effectiveness for God's purposes. Under the same rubric of detachment, we should consider the Beatitude, "How blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Now, I know this can sound like the worst kind of masochism, but we have to dig deeper. I think a very legitimate translation would be, how lucky you are, how happy and blessed you are, if you're not addicted to good feelings. Good feelings, pleasant sensations, physical, emotional, psychological, are wonderful, but they're not God. And if we turn them into God, they become in short order the focus of an addiction, which can be seen clearly enough in the prevalence of drug abuse and pornography and conspicuous consumption in our society. Again, this has nothing to do with Puritanism. It has to do with detachment, and therefore with spiritual freedom. Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." Once more, Jesus is not so much passing judgment on institutions of power as he is showing a path of detachment. How lucky you are if you are not attached to the finite good of worldly power. J.R.R. Tolkien, the author of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, experienced at first hand the horrors of the First World War and witnessed those of the Second. It's no accident that in his great work he proposed as the most tempting talisman precisely a ring of power. But when you're detached from worldly power, then you can follow the will of God, even if it means walking a path of extreme powerlessness. Meek, unaddicted to worldly power, you can become a conduit of true divine power to the world. And the last of the negative Beatitudes is, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." We must read this once again in light of Thomas Aquinas' analysis. If the call to poverty holds off the addiction to material things, and the summons to mourn counters the addiction to good feelings, and the valorization of meekness blocks the addiction to power, this last beatitude gets in the way of the addicting attachment to honor. I'm standing in front of Matthias Grunewald's great painting, the Eisenheim altarpiece. It's one of the most spiritually powerful and brutally realistic depictions of the crucifixion in Western art. Look at Jesus' mouth, just agape in speechless anguish. Look at the terrible wounds in his hands and his feet, the blisters and wounds all over his body. There's nothing the least bit sentimental about this portrayal. I'm here because of something Thomas Aquinas said. Thomas said, if you want the perfect exemplification of the Beatitudes, look to Christ crucified. He specified, if you want to be happy, despise what Jesus despised on the cross and love what Jesus loved on the cross. What did he despise? Those four things in which we typically seek our happiness. Wealth, he has none of it. He's stripped naked. Pleasure, he's at the limit of psychological and physical suffering. Power, he has none. He's nailed to the cross. He can't even move. Honor, they mock him as he's publicly displayed, crucified at the end of his life. Jesus is detached from the four things in which we typically seek our joy. And what did he love on the cross? He loved doing the will of his Father. He was on the cross the single-hearted one. He was on the cross the one who hungers for righteousness. And therefore on the cross he was the ultimate peacemaker. He was on the cross the ultimate bearer of the divine mercy. Though it's very strange to say, though it's a very high paradox, if Aquinas is right, that is a picture of a happy man. And there's more. Notice please how John the Baptist to the right indicates Jesus, but in this odd, contorted way. It's as though all of our expectations have to be turned around, and then we can see that that indeed is a picture of freedom. That indeed is a picture of joy.